So, if you're somewhere between, say, 25 and 45 right now, trying to navigate your career and build some real financial momentum, chances are you are feeling the squeeze.
Oh, absolutely. It's a constant pressure cooker.
It is. You might be making what feels like decent money, maybe you're even hitting those big career milestones, but that pressure to keep up, it's relentless.
Whether it's inflation, the housing costs, which are just, well, shocking.
Right.
Or just that little voice in your head telling you that you should be moving faster towards, real financial freedom. The struggle is very, very real.
And that pressure cooker environment, that's exactly what drives bad decisions, isn't it?
It's what sends people scrambling for quick fixes. They start listening to the latest guru on social media who's selling hope and, frankly, magic bullets. But today, our mission it's fundamentally different. We're calling it the acceleration strategy.
That's right. We're going to synthesize wisdom that's drawn not from some 20-something finance star who might just be on their first upswing, but from these successful long-term wealth builders. The elders of finance and career strategy who have already secured their freedom over decades. The people who achieve not just wealth, but sustained independence.
Yeah, and we've put together a really comprehensive stack of source material for this. We're combining these proven, almost boringly effective financial blueprints, things like the tactical Perini budget model and the unwavering philosophy of Luiz Barsi.
The classics.
The absolute classics. And we're mixing that with cutting-edge market foresight for 2026. So we're covering everything. Digital job trends, the precise human skills companies are desperate for, and specific high-yield investment vehicles like real estate funds or FIIs, which are just essential for passive income.
So the promise we're making to you today is total clarity and a practical roadmap. We're not just talking about saving a few extra dollars or rians this month.
No, this is bigger.
We are talking about fundamentally shifting how you view income and how you deploy your assets. We want to give you the practical, actionable steps to move faster so that financial freedom isn't some distant theoretical goal, but a calculated, accelerating reality you can actually track year after year.
Okay, let's start the engine.
All right, let's unpack this with a hard dose of reality first, because the problem, it starts way before you're even thinking about investment choices or salary negotiations.
It starts with the mindset.
Exactly. The mindset, specifically this huge disconnect between how most people earn and how they spend. And we've got a truly sobering statistic that illustrates the depth of this challenge, particularly in the Brazilian market right now.
It is an alarming data point. It's from the Confederação Nacional do Comércio, the CNC, and their reporting indicates that nearly, get this, 3/4 of Brazilian families are currently in debt.
3/4, so 75%.
75%. And that figure isn't just a blip, it's persistent, and it really underscores a massive behavioral challenge we all face.
Wow. And here's why that number should alarm you, no matter what your current income is. This isn't just a problem for people struggling to make rent.
Not at all.
This kind of debt affects people at all income levels, from someone making $5,000 a month to someone making $50,000. It points to a structural, a mental problem that goes way beyond just low wages. It's a deep-seated misunderstanding of assets versus liabilities.
And that is the single biggest stumbling block. It's what every long-term financial success story we've analyzed points to. It perfectly echoes that core concept from Robert Kiyosaki and Pai Rico, Pai Pobre, a lesson the elders fully embody.
Which is?
The rich buy assets, the middle class buys liabilities, believing them to be assets, and the poor, well, they only have expenses.
Okay, so what does that actually mean for you, the person who's stuck in that middle class churn? Let's get some clear, simple definitions you can apply, like right now.
Okay. An asset, or a TIVO, is anything that puts money in your pocket, whether you're working or not. So think investments generating dividends, a rental property, a business that runs without you.
Money flowing to you. And a liability, a passivo.
That's anything that takes money out of your pocket. Debt, obviously, but also, and this is the key, those expensive purchases that we disguise as indicators of success, the things that are actively working against your long-term freedom.
And this brings us to the perfect, most tangible illustration of this error. It's something we're calling the Corolla trap.
Yes.
This anecdote just perfectly captures the core mistake people make when their active income starts to accelerate. When they get that big raise or promotion.
Precisely. Let's just map out the whole scenario. So you've been driving your old reliable Gol. It's cheap to run, paid off years ago.
Gets you from A to B.
It does the job. And you finally land that 20% raise. You feel successful. You decide, it's time. I'm going to reward myself. And you upgrade to a shiny, mid-range luxury sedan. maybe a brand new Corolla or something similar, you feel rich.
But the mistake is immediate, and it is profound. Your active income, the money you earn from your labor, it's gone up, yes. But your liabilities? They instantly skyrocket, and they often consume most, if not all, of that new raise.
Let's run the numbers. Let's make this tangible, because the sources break down these hidden costs so precisely. That new car isn't just a monthly payment. First up, the IPVA, the vehicle property tax.
Right, which is a percentage of the car's value.
Exactly. So if your old Gol was worth, say, $25,000, you paid tax on that. If the new Corolla is $150,000, your IPVA bill just jumped by 6 times. Let's say that tax increase alone costs you an extra $400 a month.
Okay, that's already a big chunk. Then you've got insurance, which is going to be way more expensive because the car is a greater risk.
Dramatically more expensive.
Yeah.
That could easily be another $200, maybe $300 monthly jump. Higher fuel consumption, maybe it needs premium fuel. Add another $150. And this is the one people forget. Parking. That old Gol, you could park it on the street, no problem. The Corolla. You need secured parking.
Yeah.
In a major city, that is an unavoidable drain of, what, maybe $350 a month?
So let's add that up. You've got $400 in tax, $250 in insurance, $150 in fuel, $350 in parking. What's that? Our $1,150 a month.
$1,150 per month in new unavoidable liabilities. And we haven't even mentioned the principal and interest payment if you finance the car.
Wow. So if your raise was, say, our $1,500 after tax, that shiny asset just ate 75% of your income increase. You're almost as tight financially as you were before the promotion.
It's the psychological trap. The wealthy, they focus relentlessly on minimizing these drains so their active income can be invested. The middle class uses every income increase to immediately inflate their liabilities, which is how they fall right into that 75% debt statistic we started with.
So that car is just constantly consuming your active income, trapping you. You have to work harder just to sustain the illusion of wealth.
And this raises the critical question that the elders always ask. What happens when your active income inevitably slows down or drops? Because it will.
Right. It always does.
Age, market disruption, health, a career plateau. Relying solely on your direct labor to maintain a high standard of living is just financial instability waiting to happen. The wisdom is unequivocal. You never, ever raise your standard of living based purely on active income.
Exactly. So this is the path to freedom, right? As strategists like Bruno Perini advise, the only sustainable way forward is to make a fundamental commitment. You must first dramatically increase your passive income.
You have to let your assets buy your liabilities, not your direct labor.
You need the money you already made to start working for you, generating cash flow before you even think about that big purchase, whether it's a car or a nicer home.
You have to feed the passive income engine first. It's non-negotiable.
Okay, so we've established the goal. Passive income buys freedom. But that passive income needs fuel. How do we turn up the active income engine today? Because the pressure is real, and accelerating that top-line number, your salary, your business revenue, that's the immediate tactical priority. Let's dive into what the 2026 market is demanding, because sticking to the status quo is just a recipe for stagnation.
It really is. The job market has fundamentally shifted. Our sources, including data from GoWork and Forbes, they clearly show that the market isn't looking for purely technical specialists anymore. Their skills might be obsolete in 2 years.
Right.
It demands hybrid professionals who can combine digital savvy with uniquely human attributes that, machines just can't replicate. The key message is that adaptation, upskilling, reskilling, they're no longer optional. They are integral, continuous parts of any successful career.
Which brings us to our first theme here, the new gold human competencies. When AI and automation take over all the repetitive technical tasks, what becomes truly indispensable? What are companies willing to pay top dollar for?
The soft skills. We're talking about high-leverage human abilities.
Yeah.
Empathy, emotional intelligence, critical thinking. These are what's essential for leadership, for navigating complex client relationships, for keeping a team together, especially in a hybrid work environment.
These are the skills that separate a manager who just executes a process from a leader who actually influences and inspires.
That's it. And the data here is, well, it's mind-blowing. It's from a Cortex study that analyzed nearly 2 million job vacancies across Brazil. They didn't do surveys. They sifted through real active job descriptions to find out what companies are actually looking for.
And the number one most sought-after ability was not coding. It wasn't data science. It was persuasion and negotiation.
Can you believe that? It completely flips the script on how most people think about upskilling. It confirms that the greatest need in modern business is the ability to move the needle to close deals, manage complex relationships, and sell ideas internally to get budgets and resources.
These are the levers of influence.
Exactly. And right behind persuasion and negotiation were analytical thinking and innovation, and then leadership.
So what stands out to you about that trio? Persuasion, analysis, leadership?
It proves that employers need people who can interpret all this data we have now, that's the analytical thinking, and then use it to influence outcomes. That's the persuasion and leadership. If you just execute tasks, you are replaceable. If you can synthesize information and influence millions in revenue or savings, your value becomes immense.
So the takeaway for you is crystal clear. Adaptation is mandatory. The sources recommend making continuous learning a non-negotiable part of your financial life. Specifically, defining a quarterly learning plan where you commit 10% of your income to mastering a new skill and immediately applying it. Okay, let's move to theme B. Let's address the big myth that working in tech means you have to be a developer who codes all day.
It's just not true anymore, and it limits people unnecessarily. The demand for adjacent non-programming roles is so high, and they offer quick entry into high-value fields that can really accelerate your active income.
These roles need intense logical thinking and human strategy, but not necessarily programming code.
Right. We have 4 high-demand areas detailed in the sources.
Okay, first up, the product owner or product manager. If you love strategy, this is for you.
Absolutely. The PO is basically the CEO of the product. They're focused on defining what gets built and, more importantly, why. They prioritize features, they align the business needs with user experience, all without writing a single line of code.
And they're paid highly because they directly own the commercial success of that product.
They do. Second is the UX designer and researcher. This role is all about the user journey, usability, accessibility, the overall experience of a digital product. The goal is simple: make a product intuitive and pleasant to use.
And our sources are, they are practically screaming about how important good UX and UI design is.
They are. One tech forum commenter in the sources suggested that poor user experience creates this massive drag. He called it error behind error. It leads to high abandonment rates and astronomical support costs. Investing in people who can deliver great digital experiences is now non-negotiable.
Okay, next we have the data analyst, specifically using no-code tools. This isn't about building algorithms in Python. It's about using powerful platforms like Power BI, Tableau, and advanced Excel to visualize and interpret data.
You're the storyteller of the numbers. You transform raw data into clear strategic insights for the decision makers. You provide the foundation for the product owner to prioritize and for the leader to persuade. The value there is immense.
And finally, the support or customer success specialist. This is often overlooked, but it's a high-value relationship role in tech companies. It directly uses those core human skills we talked about: communication, empathy, active listening.
Customer success is where human empathy meets the technical stack. You're responsible for client retention, maximizing the lifetime value of the customer. And companies know it costs way more to acquire a new customer than to keep an existing one happy.
So the people who secure that relationship are seen as massive revenue shields. All these roles prove that you can accelerate your active income through tech without becoming a developer. You become the human bridge between the technology, the business goal, and the customer.
Now for our final and maybe most scalable path, Theme C, the info product asset monetizing knowledge. This is a huge trend because it offers the highest scalability with the smallest production costs. The profit margins can be enormous.
Info products, we're talking courses, ebooks, online masterclasses. They let anyone with specialized knowledge turn that into a product that can be sold globally. 247. This is nonlinear income growth.
Instead of trading hours for money, you create an asset once and sell it indefinitely.
The sources, citing experts like Fagner Borges, they identified the most profitable niches. They call them insaturabis, the insatiable markets.
Money and finance, relationships, and health. Humans will always prioritize these 3 things. But the secret isn't to create a general course, it's to find a deep specialization, a sub-niche.
Right, so instead of a course on finance, you teach financial independence for single mothers in the legal profession.
Exactly. Or advanced negotiation tactics for mid-career engineers. Specificity creates urgency and trust.
And we have a detailed breakdown of the launch strategy, modeled on the successful Formula de Lanzamiento. This isn't guesswork, it's a precise 4-step machine.
Step 1. Define your persona and niche. You have to know your ideal customer, inside out: their age, their location, their pains, and most importantly, their dreams. Your communication has to hit those exact points.
If you speak to everyone, you speak to no one.
That's the mantra. Step 2, attraction via inbound marketing. This means creating high-quality, frequent content, especially video, on Instagram and YouTube. The strategy is to give away massive value for free. This establishes your authority, builds trust, and educates the market on the solution your product offers.
You're showing them the path before you sell them the map.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Step 3, and this is the primary asset in this business model, build the email list. You offer valuable freebie V-books, master classes in exchange for their email. The sources call it a social payment.
And why is the email list so critical?
Because unlike social media, where the platform controls everything, the algorithm, the engagement, the email list is a channel you own. It's an intimate one-to-one conversation that is entirely controlled by you. Your connection to your best leads is secure.
And finally, step 4, the launch phase. This is where you use psychological triggers to accelerate the buying decision. First, you need proof and social proof.
Show genuine customer success stories, testimonials, any media mentions from reputable places. This de-risks the purchase for the new buyer.
And then you introduce scarcity. This is the key psychological accelerator.
It leverages the human tendency to value what's limited. The most common strategies are limiting the enrollment window, often just 1 week, or offering special bonuses only for the first people who sign up. This forces a decision.
If they know they can buy it anytime, they'll buy it never.
Scarcity generates immediate action.
So whether you're pivoting your skills to these high-value human roles or leveraging your knowledge to create a scalable info product, acceleration is possible. But none of this matters unless you immediately pivot that new income into securing the future.
Exactly. Without discipline, accelerated income just means accelerated liability inflation. Now we move to the long game.
Okay, so now we move from earning actively to keeping, protecting, and multiplying passively. We need to adopt the financial discipline of those long-term winners. And, I mean, there is no better, more powerful example of this elder wisdom than Luiz Barsi Filho.
Barsi's story is just. It's an absolute testament to the power of consistent, boring effort. He's 86 years old, he built a fortune of around $4 billion, and he started his life as a shoeshine boy.
Incredible.
His journey proves that a lack of initial capital is just a delay, not a permanent barrier. His path wasn't sudden speculation, it was deliberate, patient accumulation over more than 5 decades.
And his core strategy, it revolves entirely around buy and hold, plus a relentless dividend focus. Barsi's goal isn't short-term speculation. It's building what he calls a private pension portfolio, a cartera previdenciaria.
Right. He accumulates shares of solid established companies that pay regular and growing dividends over decades. He couldn't care less about the stock price next week. He cares about the cash flow it provides for the rest of his life.
He advises sticking to what he calls strategic sectors, essential foundational industries, things that offer stability and continuous demand, which ensures those consistent dividend payments.
Think energy distribution, basic sanitation, major banks, insurance, telecommunications, the bedrock industries that society cannot function without, regardless of the economy or politics.
This highlights his powerful aversion to trading, but I have to push back a little here. Barsi is 86. Is this strategy, this absolute buy and hold mentality, is it still relevant for a 35-year-old trying to aggressively accelerate their wealth? Isn't some tactical trading necessary when, interest rates are fluctuating wildly?
That's a fair challenge. But Barsi's argument is fundamentally psychological, not technical. For him, investing means becoming a shareholder, a true socio in the company. If you're trying to time the market, you're speculating. And that introduces paralyzing complexity, stress, and most likely massive losses from emotional decisions.
So his strategy is really a defense against the noise.
It is. The goal is cash flow you can count on, not trying to guess the capital gain. For someone trying to accelerate, Barsi's method provides a safe, simple, high-leverage path that avoids the traps that consume 90% of retail investors.
That elder wisdom sets the mindset. Now we need the concrete mechanism to put that into practice. For that, we turn to the 5-slice budgeting blueprint, a non-negotiable guide for financial stability and momentum over the next 5 years.
And this model is built on one core rule that just reverses standard practice. Rule number 1, and this is absolutely critical, future self comes first. 15% for financial freedom.
Okay, explain that.
This allocation has to happen the exact moment money hits your account. A direct debit to your investment platform. You treat this money as if it belongs entirely to your future self. It is only for investment, and it must never, ever be pulled back into your daily budget.
To illustrate the sheer, brutal power of this, let's look at the compounding math. This really needs to sink in. Let's compare 2 people. We'll assume a modest, achievable 10% average annual return.
Which is pretty realistic, roughly the average Selic rate over the last decade.
Okay, so person A follows the 15% rule. They start investing a smaller amount, or $300 a month at age 25 for 30 years. Person B waits 10 years, thinking our $300 isn't enough, and starts late at 35 with a larger amount, or $500 a month for 20 years.
The result is staggering. Person A, who started earlier with less, finishes at age 55 with approximately $618,852. That's a difference of almost $240,000. That's the cost of delaying. It's not just the extra capital. It's the fact that the first 10 years of investment for person A were running at their maximum compounding potential. Those years were earning money on money on money. Time is not just a factor. It's the single most critical variable the elders stress.
Okay, rule number 2 is for stability. 10% for the emergency reserve. You need a defensive reserve covering 6 months of your cost of living. But here's the reality check.
If you only dedicate 10% of your income to this, it will take you 60 months, 5 full years, just to build it.
5 years just for the safety net? That seems like forever.
It does. That's why the elders stress starting the 15% freedom slice at the same time. Focusing only on defense for 5 years is counterproductive to growth. You have to fund both simultaneously.
And there's an added layer of defense the sources recommend, supplementing your reserve with life, accident, or serious illness insurance.
This protects your financial trajectory from a catastrophic event that a 6-month reserve just can't handle. For a younger person, this insurance is incredibly cheap. One simulation showed a 33-year-old paying only around $15 a month for $120,000 in coverage.
It's a no-brainer.
It's cheap, essential protection. And where do you park this reserve? Safety and liquidity are non-negotiable. You sacrifice high returns, so you're looking at Treasury Selic bonds or daily liquidity CDBs paying 100% of the CDI. You need to be able to get that cash instantly.
Okay, moving to the biggest slice, rule number 3. Basic necessities at 55%. Housing, transport, food. You can reduce these, but you can't eliminate them. Let's zero in on the 2 major villains here, housing and transport.
For housing, the key is balancing location and cost. In a large city, prioritizing being close to work, even if the rent is a bit higher, is a wise long-term decision.
Why is that?
Because you dramatically save on transport costs, gas, parking, tolls, and crucially, you save time. The financial elders consider time a precious, non-renewable asset. Reducing your commute is an investment in yourself.
And transport takes us right back to the Corolla trap.
Avoid expensive cars early on. We already calculated that our $1,150 drain. The sources stress that the cost of parking alone in major cities is prohibitive. If you have options like the metro, a bike, walking, you leverage them.
Every month you avoid a high car payment is more fuel for that 15% investment slice.
Exactly. And finally, rules 4 and 5, 10% for leisure and 10% for education. And leisure is not a luxury, it's framed as a basic need. You need balance to sustain the effort. If you burn out, the whole plan fails.
And the 10% for education should be ruthlessly strategic. Prioritize skills that yield higher income, whether that's financial education or mastering one of those 2026 soft skills we talked about, persuasion or emotional intelligence.
But it's worth noting the budget allows for personal enrichment, too. The sources mention studying Roman history as a valid use of this slice. The point is continuous improvement, both professionally and personally.
Okay, we have the mindset and the budget. Let's look at theme C, current passive income tools, real estate funds, or FIIs. We have to talk about the current macro environment, specifically the high interest rates in Brazil.
Right. The latest BTG Pactual analysis highlights that the benchmark interest rate, the Selic, is being held high at 15% per year through the end of 2025. And that's mainly due to inflation concerns. This context is crucial because this environment traditionally favors fixed income and high-yield instruments that deliver reliable cash flow.
And FIIs, real estate funds, are a superb strategy for passive income in this environment. For our global listeners, they're like REITs. They let you diversify into real estate without actually owning a physical building.
And you get much higher liquidity. You can sell your shares in a day versus months or years for a physical property. Plus, you get monthly income.
So if we look at the BTG recommended portfolio from August 2025, it gives some really concrete examples. It leans heavily into receivables or CRIs, which are basically securitized loans backed by real estate. They make up 51.5% of the allocation.
Which makes total sense given the high Selic rate, because those loans often have yields tied to inflation plus a spread. A highly traded example they give is KNCR11, which has a 15.5% weight in the portfolio and offers a dividend yield of 15.4% annually.
That's significant predictable cash flow.
It is. They also manage their investments to find value. The recommendation included increasing exposure to shopping centers by adding funds like HSM11. And this wasn't just because of strong performance, but because of a key valuation metric, the PVPA.
Let's define that. PVPA is price to patrimonial value. It tells you how cheaply you're buying the underlying assets. A PVPA of 1.0 means you're buying at book value. The source notes HSML11 was trading at 0.76.
Which means you are effectively buying the asset for 76 cents on the dollar, a 24% discount. This is how the long-term rich think, not just about current yield, but about buying quality assets at a significant discount.
And finally, there's crucial exposure to stable asset classes like logistics and urban income funds. These are things like high-quality warehouses or urban retail properties, often protected by long-term atypical contracts.
And those atypical contracts are vital. They provide a fixed, predictable income stream, often indexed to inflation, regardless of short-term market fluctuations. Predictability is the holy grail for a passive income builder following that Barsi philosophy.
The genius of this portfolio is its broad diversification. It's spread across 18 assets and various expert managers. This multi-asset, multi-manager strategy mitigates risk while providing high regular income. It's the perfect modern tool for building that private pension portfolio.
So if we look back at the whole acceleration strategy, we've mapped out two primary paths for you to accelerate your financial journey, drawing directly from decades of proven success, not from speculation.
The first path is active acceleration, ruthlessly focusing your career on the hybrid skills the 2026 market desperately needs. That's persuasion, emotional intelligence, no-code tech fluency, and maybe even building scalable info products that generate nonlinear revenue.
And the second path is passive discipline, establishing that unwavering long-term financial structure the elders demand. That means the non-negotiable 5-slice budget, making that 15% investment rule automatic, and strategically accumulating assets that produce consistent passive income.
Whether that's through Barsi's dividend strategy or diversification into modern tools like FIIs. But the ultimate secret shared by all the most successful long-term investors, the central message woven through all of this. It is simple, it is consistent, and it's demanding. It is time.
Time is the one thing you can't get back.
Leveraging compound interest and the buy and hold philosophy requires you to act now, even if you can only start with our $100 or our $300. You cannot fall into the middle-class trap of waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect salary. The cost of delay, as we saw with that math, is just staggering.
So if the successful elders emphasize consistent, boring effort over decades, this is your provocative closing thought for the week. Considering the high value of human skills in the 2026 job market, what one highly valued skill persuasion, emotional intelligence, or a coding-adjacent tech role can you commit 10% of your education budget to mastering in the next 90 days? The goal is to ensure your active income grows enough to immediately feed that critical 15% financial freedom slice. Start today, because the only thing the elders cannot give you is the time you waste waiting.